Welcome, everybody, to the Hockey Think Tank podcast, brought to you by the Hockey Think Tank. You place for all passionate players, parents, and coaches to go to get a little bit of education and a little bit of inspiration regarding the greatest game on the planet. What an episode we have for you guys here today. We are bringing on a repeat guest. This is time number 2 for performance coach Jacob Newton. Newts, what an incredible hockey career he had. Grew up in California, played his junior hockey in the North American League in the USHL before playing 1 year at Northeastern University before signing a professional contract where he played parts of 9 different seasons, including 7 over in Europe. And man, the journey, a lot of ups, a lot of downs. This is a vulnerable dude that shares it all. And really, honestly, this was one of my favorite conversations that we've had. We were talking a little bit afterwards. I literally looked up at the time and it said 57 minutes. And I thought we were like halfway through the conversation. Usually we go about an hour. And so a lot of really, really good stuff. Newts just came out with a book that you can get in bookstores and at Amazon called The Tears of Happy Jake, an inspiring journey of discovery and hockey, and talk a little bit about the book and his journey in there. But man, did we have some topics that I think will resonate so much with a lot of the players out there. So great conversation. Before we do get over to Newts, though, let's bring on another great guy in a one, Jeffrey J. Hu Lavecchio. Vex, what's going on today, my brother?
Just made a little makeshift batting cage here down in my gym today with my $39.99 pitching machine I got off of Amazon. Getting ready. I got 1 week to sharpen my baseball swing skills before I try to hit off a guy who's played in the MLB, a pitcher. So, and then I'm going to play against Jacob Turner, who we've had on the podcast, on the ice after that.
Who was also an MLB player.
Who was also an MLB pitcher and a 10th overall pick. So it's baseball versus hockey, and I will represent for hockey.
Hilarious. That just snowballed very quickly, hey?
Real quick, the CEO of First Form, Sal Frizella, he played in the MLB for a bit and AAA as well. And he was chirping me one night, just talking about how hitting a baseball is the hardest thing to do in all sports. And I was like, bro, what are you talking about? No. We were going back and forth, and that turned into like a bunch of these MLB guys ganging up on me. And I said, fine, let's go. I'll hit it. I'll hit a ball. You play me in hockey. I will put you through the boards. I will end your life. We'll have an ambulance ready, and I'll try and hit a baseball. We'll see who does better. So 1 week from today, it's going down.
Oh my gosh. Are you nervous at all or what? Like,
no, why would I be nervous? No, not at all. Zero nerves going on whatsoever. Because if I miss, like, I'm not supposed to hit it, but then we go on the rink and I make them look like they're 3 years old and don't know how to skate. It's going to be hilarious.
I cannot wait for them to like throw you a changeup or a curveball and you be like swinging the bat 90 seconds before the ball actually gets to the catcher's mitt.
Dude, I would stop playing baseball, I think, when I was 10. It's been 30 years since I've swung a baseball bat. But this guy, so I didn't even know what a cutter was. So like, I guess a cutter is like a high fastball that, like, when you're a righty, if you throw in, it curves to the left. So it's going to be curving like into me. I don't know, man. I had to like Google all this stuff, but I'm going to bring my A game, Topher, right? I'm going to bring my A game. I'm going to give it my all. I'm training.
Could you put it on Instagram live so I can actually see it? I would love to see it live.
Yeah. Obviously. Come on, baby. We got a lot going on for this. So it's going to be super fun.
All right.
We're going to raise some money for charity. So it'll be cool.
Nice. Let's talk some college hockey for a second right now, because big news just came out of the St. Louis area, and a team that you work with, the team that I have done team building with, is now moving from ACHA Club Division I hockey to Division I hockey in Maryville University, another Division I program coming up. Anytime we can add D1 programs or any college programs, really, it's a win for the sport. So just what's the buzz there in St. Louis? What's the buzz around the rink and the team? What's going on out in St. Louis with this new program? Now we got 2 D1 programs in Lindenwood and Maryville and St. Louis. How's it going down there, man?
It's such a cool time, dude. I mean, I started working with Maryville hockey program. I think this is the 5th year I've worked with them. And this has been the goal the entire time of John Hogan, the head coach and head of hockey operations for Maryville. He said, like, this is the goal. And he told me when he brought me on to work with the team 5 years ago, like, this is always the goal here. And we're going to do everything we can to achieve it. And to see where we've gotten now is very, very exciting for the program and what they're doing to the rink to get it ready to be NCAA D1, whatever it needs to be, ready. Yeah. Like it's all exciting. I mean, it's one of the reasons that I renovated my gym at their rink 2 summers ago to what it is. And invested a ton of time and energy and money and everything because their goal was to go D1 next season. And so I put a ton of money into the gym so they'd actually have a Division I weight room at their rink. That is my daughter yelling, if you can hear her. She's playing with my baseballs down in the basement here. I had a Topher. Okay, you got them. It's a lot of buzz. It's a lot of work. Seeing how much work Coach Hogan's having to do here to have a transition season next year and then like a full D1 season starting the following year. It's going to be a big undertaking, but I'm excited to be on the staff working, being the strength coach. And I'm also going to be a third assistant coach too. So that's
what are you actually?
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. It's really exciting. That's why I've been on the ice with them at least once a week, sometimes twice a week here the last 4 or 5 weeks. Getting back out there and coaching and it's been super fun and I'm excited for next season.
Wow. You didn't even tell me that. You said that it was like a possibility, but wow. Breaking news here on the Hockey Think Tank podcast. Vex is getting back into coaching.
Yeah, buddy. Going to be fun. Going to be really, really exciting.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, dude, this conversation with Newts, I think, when we got off with him, we were both like, that was legit. That was very legit. And I particularly loved when we talked about kind of like, what does it mean to go all in on something and being able to compartmentalize. And God, like, I think that whatever 10, 15 minutes that was that we were able to talk about that stuff, I feel like is something that every kid needs to hear. Yeah. I don't know what you think, but like that for me, it helped me. Like, kind of even looking back and reflecting on my own journey, but also in the journey that I'm in right now, I think there's so much value to what you said and to what he said. And man, just they're like this, I don't want to say it got like deep, but it got like really, really impactful. That's probably the word. It's like one of the episodes that I think really has the ability to help somebody affect some change in their lives in terms of their perspective.
I would agree. I mean, Newts is a deep guy, he's been through a lot in his life, a lot. And for him to be who he is and show up how he does every day and to help all these people. I mean, sometimes you have to go through the dark to be able to understand the light and how to, be in that every day. And obviously he's been through some tough times. If you listen to our first podcast with him, that was a year or two ago, he goes over that. And I would urge you guys to follow him on social media. He's just, with everything that he's been through in his life, how he's come out on the other side is very, very impressive. And, the compartmentalization talk that we had is something that I think all young athletes need to hear. I've worked with thousands of young athletes in person, and this is something that all of them need to hear. It's something I wish somebody would have talked to me about and helped me, because it's not like just something you could talk about once. You need to like practice this every day so that, what we talk about doesn't bleed over outside of the rink. So I think you guys you're going to like this a lot. You're going to get a lot out of this. And, Jacob's a great guy, and I definitely say go get his book because it's going to help a lot of people. Totally.
And just before we, kind of do get over to him for, the parents that are in the car that are listening with their kids, there's, Jacob mentions abuse when he was a young kid. Nothing that we go in depth on or anything like that, but he does mention it. So just want to make sure that you know that before going in. And man, just this was an awesome episode, a really, really awesome episode. So before we do get over to Newt's story though, let's thank the people that we need to thank, the sponsors that we have that allow us to continue to doing this thing. First and foremost, our title sponsor, IceHockeySystems.com, the best website out there for all your coaching education needs. We're talking thousands of drills. whiteboard explanations from high-level hockey people, the ability to go in, draw your drills up digitally, send them out to your team, and build a library for yourself. And it's not just for coaches. It is also for players and parents. They have come up with IHS Family, which gives a lot of great educational information on the hockey journey too, that are specifically tailored towards players and parents. So many great things on icehockeysystems.com. They also have an associations platform where your coaches, you can get this for every coach in your organization. And I know so many organizations that utilize it, build libraries up and practice plans for their coaches. And it's such a value add. So go to icehockeysystems.com today.
I want to give a massive thank you and shout out to Train Heroic. Guys, my off-season online training programs are about to drop. We have a 13U all-at-home off-season program, 20 weeks long. Okay, you can also add video coaching to that, where my Give More Advising video coach, Michael Hunterbrinker, retired professional hockey player, was a captain at Minnesota State Mankato for 2 seasons. He is the video coach. He's unbelievable. All of our advising clients have absolutely loved the work that he's done with them this year. You'll have the option to add, I think it's 4 or 5 full game breakdowns, shift by hunts, if you're doing my online off-season program for 13U. The same thing is possible for 14 and up. That's going to be the in-gym program, and there's some really cool features that literally no one else has. You can do just a training program. It's a 20-week off-season program through Train Heroic, or you can add a call with me, nutrition coach, where you get 24/7 access to a nutrition coach who will build you out custom macros. You can send pictures, questions, texts all day long for the entire summer to him. He will be your personal nutrition coach, and he will be there to hold you accountable to making sure that you track your macros, as well as the 4 or 5 game video breakdown. So make sure you're following my Instagram here over the next couple of weeks so that you can get all the information on my off-season training program. Any teams or organizations that want to work with me and get massive discounts for all of your players, please reach out. I've already had 5 organizations that are going to work with me this offseason to get all their players all this stuff. So Train Heroic makes it all possible. So thank you to Train Heroic.
Boom. Also want to thank Helios Hockey, one of the best hockey development products on the market. It is a sensor that you put into your shoulder pads that gives you real-time data and feedback on your play, particularly on 2 big things. One is skating. Unbelievable development tools on your skating. If you want to be a player at the higher levels of the game today, skating is such an important skill, but also what they call a hustle score. Every time you move, that sensor moves with it, and you are able to quantify in a pretty cool way the effort that you're putting into the skate that you're doing. But the game changer with Helios Hockey is that it pairs up with your video, whatever video that you are using. It could be Live Barn, it could be an iPad, it could be a phone, whatever it may be. And you can get your shifts or your reps in practice cut up for you directly when that session is over. So just an unbelievable development tool. Go to helioshockey.com today and use the coupon code ThinkTank, one word, and you will get a 20% discount on your Pro Annual or your Pro 24-month subscription. Also want to thank Crossbar. Crossbar is a software solution that can help you streamline all the operations for your youth hockey organization. It is a literal one-stop shop for all the back-end nitty-gritty stuff that nobody really sees, but allows you to run your organization efficiently. We're talking about a 5-star communication app that you can communicate with your families very easily. We're talking about financial tools and reporting, facility management. We're talking about scheduling, whether it's big picture season, practice, game type stuff, or little things like clinics and drop-ins. Just an absolute value add for any organization that I know that have made the switch over to Crossbar. So go to crossbar.org today and check that out. And then lastly, we want to thank all of you amazing listeners. We love you guys so much. We're 7+ years in. We're over 400+ episodes in. And man, we just appreciate you guys so much. If you can do us a solid, if you think that what we are doing is helping to grow the game and adding positive value to the game of hockey, anytime that you can interact with our podcast in your podcast app by giving us comments or shooting us rating or reviews, downloading, following, subscribing, all that stuff goes a long way to helping us get into more people's ears. So just appreciate you guys. We love doing what we do, and a big part of that is the positive impact we feel like we're making based on your guys' feedback, and also, it makes us better getting people like Jacob Newton on the podcast and being able to pick his brain and learn from him. So guys, unreal episode here. So without further ado, here we go with Jacob Newton. We are so excited to have on this episode of the podcast. He's back for round 2. We got Jacob Newton. Newts, how's everything going? It's been a couple years officially since you've been on. How's the last 2 years been for you, man?
Yeah, pretty good. And it's actually crazy to even think that it's been 2 years. Every time I think about it, because I had such a good time when I guested on your guys' podcast here clearly 2 years ago. It feels like it was last year, but here we are. It's been 2 years, and things are going well. Like I was sharing before we went on air here, just made it through winter. Finally, it was a rough 7-8 weeks that we were experiencing here in Cleveland, but all the snow has melted. It's sunny and 65 today, and that's why we got the tank top on and had a solid workout. Anytime you're going to be hopping on a podcast with Vex, you got to get a workout in before. So I went and made sure I was dialed in and ready to rock here today. So the last 2 years have been good. Business is good. My kids are doing really well. Hockey season just ended for my son. My daughter's got some concerts lined up for band and choir. And I'm just truly enjoying being a father. And I'm happy to make it through winter.
How old your son?
He's 10.
He's 10. So is hockey getting crazy at the rink, or how's that? What's it like for him right now?
It's crazy, but I do a good job at kind of keeping us outside of it. We've had our talks, in the past, but he's playing travel. It's really his only option with, how he has developed. Obviously I could have him at the rec level, which I hope and wish he was still there, but he is a good little player and he's got a deep love for it. So I'm willing to feed that. But, we've got a good group with the team that he's on. All the parents are great. The head coach and myself were the two, we got a third coach as well, but all three of us, we've got, professional backgrounds and ensure that we're focused on the developments and the love and fun of the game. So it is crazy in terms of the travel. But outside of that, again, like I said, we've got a pretty solid group and he's got a love for it. So I don't talk to him about it. He'll bring it up. But if he doesn't, we're just dad and son and not coach and player. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool, man. Very cool. Well, let's reintroduce you a little bit to our listeners. Again, we had you on, by the way, I have no idea if it was 2 years ago. It might've been a year ago. We met each other in Nashville. It was a couple years back. So who knows, but it's been a little bit, but glad to have you back. But you quite the hockey story, man. Quite the hockey story, to say the least. And, you took a non-traditional path, I think is the understatement of the century. But, you grew up in California. Tell us a little bit about how you fell in love with the game and actually how cool it is that your love is now your son's love. Talk a little bit about that too. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I was born in Arizona and we didn't live there for, I would imagine, any amount of time before moving up to Canada. So I'm half Canadian. And so it just being in my blood, I think I've said this to many people. If you are Canadian in any way and don't have some type of love or play the game of hockey, something's probably mentally wrong with you. And so it's just, as a result of that, both my brothers were playing, my oldest sister, and I just kind of tagged along. My brothers being 5 and 6 years older than me, I looked up to them. I wanted to be like them. So they were playing hockey. Okay, I'm going to play hockey. And, I grew up in the desert, deep in the desert in California, close to Palm Springs. And again, we didn't have any ice rinks. So it was street hockey. It was how many kids could we gather from around the cul-de-sac and let's play some games and hope, that a limited amount of cars come and interrupt our games, And it wasn't until, around the age of 10, 11, when I started gaining in popularity there in Southern California, that we started making the hour and 15-minute long drive to the rink, just playing rec level there. And, I think as time went on, being such a hockey loving family, I realized, oh shoot, maybe this is something that I can be good at. I started going to showcases at the age of 13, 14. And these were like junior showcases. And I did very well in them. And so that's where I was like, oh shoot, yeah, okay, maybe this is something I got to feed this. And so that's kind of how it all played out. And then I moved away from home when I was 15 to play in a league that I don't think exists anymore, the Northern Pacific Junior Hockey League. I played just outside of Portland in a town called Beaverton, Oregon. and then was, fortunate to play for the Junior Kings the next year for Nelson Emerson. Obviously a former NHL player, and we went to nationals. I think we took 3rd or 4th place in that. And that was kind of like the springboard for me before going to the North American League, the USHL, Northeastern University, before signing my NHL contract with Anaheim. And then just like Vex, wound up over in Europe for 7 years. And now all of it's irrelevant, and I'm a dad. And, to touch on what you had asked there, again, knowing the sacrifice and the dedication that was required for me to get out of my small town. Again, the town I grew up in was rated the 4th worst in all of California. So it's a far cry from the Orange counties and the Los Angeles counties of the states. So again, I had a love for it. My family was willing to sacrifice and all the commuting that it took to play for the Junior Kings. That's 3.5 hours each direction, doing that for a few seasons. It takes a lot of sacrifice. So none of that is lost on me. And now my son, being a single parent, a lot of my weekends during the hockey season, I don't get off anymore, even on my supposed off weekends from my kids while I'm still driving to Buffalo or Toronto or Chicago. But just really loving it. In an ideal world, I'm not coaching his team at all. But as we know, the youth hockey scene makes more money than the NHL. So I do that to help cover fees. And like I said, I just really love watching him. I don't coach him directly. I'll go to the other coaches, let them do it. He's got an inner drive for it. I can see his love for it. If he's not on the ice, he's rollerblades are on. He's in the backyard playing. He's coming up to my room to play floor hockey every day. I don't have to talk to him about working hard. He just does it. So I'm willing to sacrifice and feed that love that he's got.
So let me ask you this, Newts, because, we talk about this a lot on the show, and I'm a really big believer that if you want to be great at anything that you do, you got to love it. And I look at all the players that I've been fortunate enough to be around as a player and a coach, and the elite of the elite, they all love it. they all love to play the game. You've had your ins and outs as far as your love for the game, I'm sure, based on your journey and everything like that. But I'm wondering, you have a son that loves it. He eats and lives and breathes it. And I want to know from you how let's talk about nature versus nurture. And is it something that from an early age, without you even doing anything, he picked up and was like, I love this? Are there things that you have done as a dad that has the experience of loving the game at certain times in your career and probably hating the game at some points in your career? What would you say was kind of like the impetus to him falling in love with it? Nature, nurture? What do you say?
I think naturally, obviously, with me playing, him being born over in Finland and getting to watch me briefly there, granted, he was literally an infant. He doesn't remember those games. But, obviously having that, I think such a big, catalyst for his love was getting to watch me play in that summer 3 ice league that I played in. That first year, especially, my kids came with me to many of the events and knew my teammates. They knew Coach Trache very well, and he was just so good to them. But I would say the biggest one was probably winning one of the events. We had an event in Pittsburgh playing at the Penguins Arena, and I'm here in Cleveland. I had so many people come to that event to cheer on. At that time, I was coaching full time. So the amount of kids I had done private lessons with, their families came to watch. And so my son was there, and we won that event. And I'll never forget, having the cameras on me. I'm jumping onto the bench because my son was directly behind the glass, right behind the bench. And yes, he saw me play when he was an infant, but as he's older and now can remember things, he never got to witness me playing. That was why I tried out for 3 Ice, was for that moment right there. That to me was my championship. We went on to win the championship that year. But for me, that was why when EJ Johnston called me and asked me to go to tryouts, I instantly said yes. When I had other experiences and offers to go and continue playing, where I just instantly shut them down. I'm done being away from my kids. So I think him seeing the fire and the passion in me competing in 3 Ice, granted, there's no fighting, there's no physicality, but he's seeing me in my element, and then winning and celebrating with him like that, I certainly would say has stayed with him. And I don't know if he thinks about it or not, but we chat about it from time to time, And so, yeah, I would say that certainly.
Unreal, man.
So freaking cool, man. Like,
because you know how it is, Vex, right? In Europe, like you get to bring your kids down to the locker
on
room,
the ice.
on
Yeah.
the ice, and I
Yeah.
wanted that, but I was divorced. I didn't really get that opportunity.
Right. I
And
never had that either. Obviously, I didn't have my daughter till a year and a half ago, basically. And that's something that I'm like, man, it would have been so cool to have her come out
Yeah.
on the ice and see all the fans going nuts and throwing candy bars and whatever the hell country you're in, and they're throwing stuff at you, like that's really, really cool, man. How old was he when you when that year that you won it?
This was 4 years ago, so he would have been 6.
Oh yeah, so he definitely remembers, dude. That is so cool. God, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. And I've been asking a lot of people this lately because I think about my 3 kids, and, my oldest, she's 8 now and she'll be 9 in April, but nothing to do with the game. Nope, I'm good. Dad, nope, don't want to do it. You kind of saw that really, really early on. My 6-year-old, it's funny because we put her in, some skating stuff and everything, and she didn't really take to it much, whatever. I think she just kind of was following her sister. And then we literally went to the rink one day, and she saw one of her friends from her kindergarten class that was like playing hockey. And she was like, her eyes lit up, and she was like, I want to play hockey now. And I was like, oh, this is what gets you to, okay. Cool. All right. And then it's funny, my 4-year-old, she's like always dragging me down. And like my 6-year-old now, she's like every day, she's like, Daddy, let's go in the basement. Let's play some hockey. Let's rollerblade, things like that. Yep. And my 4-year-old, even at 4 is like, let's do it. I want it. Like, Daddy, let's go play in the basement and stuff. And it's interesting because all 3 of them have had different experiences as far as their love of the game, and all of them, it will change at some point, who knows where it's going to go, but it's again, like going back to it, our job and like my passion is to get more people love hockey. Sure. Sure. And just in my own experience in my own house, had 3 completely different experiences with it.
Well, you say that, and then I think about my daughter, who's literally doesn't care one bit whatsoever. She likes the Calgary Flames because she likes their the jerseys. She likes the design. That's it. But she always asks me if they're in the playoffs. Always no. And she's like just devastated, but she's never watched a single game. But she had skated for a little while. And as soon as she was like just starting to move on the ice confidently, my son was taking off because he had a summer full of skating with his older cousins. And so he developed pretty quickly, and then she got lost in comparing herself and then wanted to hang her hot pink helmet up in her room. So I took that as a sign that we're going to shut it down now. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I want to get into, your book now, and I want that to be the meat of it. And a lot of times we go through, when we have guests that have played at the higher levels of hockey, we go through, the journey, but the book kind of talks about the journey a little bit, and not a little bit. It does. That's the book. So I want to ask you first and foremost, just to introduce the book to all of our listeners. What is the book? What is it about? And what was the genesis of the writing of it?
Yeah. So the title of the book, which is now available in 3 different versions, hardcover, paperback, and Kindle on Amazon. The book is called The Tears of Happy Jake. Me being Happy Jake, this book being a book on my life. It is a biography that's written as a story. And like you said, my entire career is in the book. It's the complete second part of the book. There's 3 parts in total. And the second part is 10 chapters. Each chapter is a season of my career. And it just kind of, in each chapter, each season, we just kind of highlight different things that, I remembered most, that I could go more in depth about, so that the author could really capture the emotion. It is an emotional book. Like, I was on last time I guested on here, talking about the things I experienced as a child. Those things are talked about in the book, but we don't go into graphic detail. So no need for anybody to worry in regards to that. But ultimately, it's a book that I'm very proud of. I've put myself out there a lot in regards to mental health and the things that I've experienced, and I've not held back on anything. And I feel like we did that again here with this book. It's something that I've had on my mind for many, many years. I've written one that is literally 19 pages long, but this is 253, and I knew I wasn't going to be the person for that. So God put an incredible man in my life 5-6 years ago, and he's the gentleman that wrote the book. So again, it is a biography written as a story. Everything that's in there is factual. It did happen. And I wanted it to be, and it is, a book of inspiration, a book of hope, a book of triumph. I also wanted to provide your average fan with just some insights into the life of a professional athlete, where I think in society we continuously put these athletes up on pedestals and make them like otherworldly, like different than us, because they make an exorbitant amount of money. But in the end, they're more human than they are athlete. And so there are some of the struggles that I went through on a personal level within this book. Because again, fans, they expect perfection out of the athletes. And an athlete's personal life at some point might be show up and distract him from his performance at the rink, at his job, And so again, I just wanted to provide some insights into what my struggles were. And, ultimately, like I said, highlight some of the things that I experienced as a child. But again, just wanted it to be a book of inspiration for anybody out there that's struggling, that's maybe experienced some of the same things as myself as a child, to, just have another opportunity to read another story that hopefully helps them to go down a different path in their own life. But very, very proud, very grateful, and feeling very blessed to be here and now officially 2 days published.
There we go. It's out there. Go get it. Well, let me ask you this. Like, life is all about moments, right? Life is all about moments. Some of the moments are great. Some of the moments are awful. And we learn from each of them, and we grow from each of them, or we let each of them kind of take us captive in whichever way we choose to think about the moments that we have in our lives. And so for people that have not listened to our interview somewhere between 1 year and 3 years ago, give us a few of the moments in your life, for both the positive and both the not so easy moments, that really you think define your journey and are a big part of what people can potentially resonate with as they're reading this book.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously going back to when I shared last time, I've had some trauma happen in my place. I've had some catastrophic events or things that I view as catastrophic, that without those things, I'm not the person I am today. I'm not the man I am today on this episode here with you guys. So, speaking on my childhood, experiencing some childhood sexual trauma, abused as a 5, 6, and 7-year-old over the course of 2 years. And, a lot of fear was put into my mind, into my subconscious mind, that would dictate so many different things within my life. My life was on one path. These experiences happened to me. It set me on a different path. That path would eventually lead me towards self-destruction, where if I truly had a career in the NHL, again, I don't think I'm here today. And I don't think I would have done the work on myself that I did to get myself to a place of safety and comfort and speaking freely about this stuff, had I, again, had that career in the NHL. So certainly that sexual abuse is a big thing. I also talk about in the book, the affair that I had during my marriage. Again, that's something that I've talked about openly. It's not something that I'm proud of, but it's something that I've done the work around to not repeat again. But that was a big moment in my life where I'll never not love my ex-wife because of her willingness to stay with me. Again, if she doesn't stay with me, I think I continue on the path of self-destruction, but she believed in me. She saw the potential in me. And we ultimately went through 3 intense years of therapy, me by myself, and then her and I together. And then we had 2 beautiful kids, and that's obviously talked about within the book. And they're talked about a lot more towards the end of the book. And then, the last one would be the divorce. So those are like the 3 things. And then within all of those things is incredible moments within the game of hockey. Again, talking about playing at the Spengler Cup on 2 separate occasions, winning championships over in Europe, obviously signing an NHL contract. There's so much within the book. It's so colorful And it's just, there's a lot of emotion. Again, you might be ready to run through a wall. There might be other times where you're crying, it's going to pull on your heart. But I think ultimately it's again, going to be a book that leaves, the reader at the end feeling inspired and ready to go tackle their own storms and their own struggles in their life.
Totally.
So powerful. And to go back to you saying, like people put athletes on a pedestal, and, they don't think about the real life and the real person behind the athlete. As somebody who was going through a divorce my last year playing pro overseas, like by myself, man, like to play hockey while that type of thing is going on in your life, like it's not easy at all.
So you're saying you went through that?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
My 10th year, my last year pro, my ex didn't come overseas with me because we were deciding we were gonna split up, and we had just built a brand new beautiful house, like from scratch, all this stuff, and this is all going on while I'm playing, and I knew it was going to be my last year because my business was so big that it just made sense with all my concussions to retire.
Yeah,
man, like to go through those things and then still be able to play the game, man. I just I can't imagine how tough that was for you at times, and sometimes I'm sure it felt like an escape and in a good way, and then sometimes it was probably impossible to walk up to the doors of the rink knowing that you have to perform physically, mentally, keep your emotions in check, like all of these things. So, I mean, I'm really excited to read about that in the book because, I lived a little piece of that as well. And one of the hardest times in my life for sure that year.
Newts, let me ask you this just to kind of piggyback off what Vex is saying here. To be a professional athlete and like even kids today, the time commitment and the emotional commitment to trying to become a professional athlete, it's a full-time job. It's a full-time job. And you see a lot of people in our line of work, let's call it, who have that dream or are living that dream, that sacrifice a lot of things in their personal life to be able to achieve that and to continue to doing it. And I think we've all been there where we've made sacrifices that have, hurt the people that we love in our quest to be the best that we can be in our careers and in our professions. I think there's a lot of guilt and a lot of regret that a lot of professional athletes have based on, I've been so singularly focused on this thing that I have neglected the people that I love the most. Being a professional athlete is great. It's also a very selfish thing. And I don't mean that necessarily in a bad way, but your focus has to be on you for yourself to optimize your potential and your abilities. And when you're playing in professionally, it's how you're providing for your family too, right? And so there's all these contradictions that go with being a high level performer in the things that you do. Looking back, having gone through all of these ups and downs professionally and personally, and how they, sometimes didn't coincide with each other, what kind of advice would you give to high performers who want to be the best that they can be in their career, in their profession, understanding that it is going to take sacrifice from the people that you love, and there's going to be times they're probably not going to like you because you're on that pursuit? How do you help them find, I don't want to say the balance because that's not a thing, but like that piece maybe that they can kind of do both to the best of their abilities, even though it's nearly impossible?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think, my answer would be to be a high performer, to be an elite athlete with the type of fame that can come along with it. I think it is ultra important for people to have an identity outside of the sport. I think it's very important that players are getting more in touch with themselves because as you climb to the higher levels, pro at any level, college at any level, heck, in some instances, junior at any level, there's going to be a lot of distractions out there. There's going to be a lot of persuasion. And I feel as though if you don't have a healthy and positive relationship with yourself, it's going to open you up to saying yes to these things that are going to take us further away from the ultimate goal. I know that was the case for me. Like, I made it to the NHL being an absolute disaster off the ice. So there didn't matter if there was anybody there telling me to stop doing those things, because I was doing those things and I was still the go-to guy, and I still signed an NHL contract. Nothing is wrong. There was so much wrong, and I just had so many different blind spots, so I was caught in a world of trying to be cool instead of trying to be good. I was so focused on my teammates liking me. And the only way I got them to like me, I didn't care about my on ice performance. I cared about what I was performing like off the ice. I was pleasing them. They loved me. I was getting all the texts. I wasn't focused. I didn't have an identity. I didn't have the will to say no to them because I needed them to be happy so that I could be happy. Because I wasn't in touch with myself. I didn't have an identity outside of the game. So everything for me, if I had a bad game, I was a bad person. If I had a good game, I was a good person. You know what I mean? So it's, I think it's vitally important that we separate the human from the athlete and understand that the person, the human, we're spending more time out there than we are inside the arena. Even if you did all of this stuff before, you showed up before everyone and you left after everyone, that's still what, 5 hours, 6 hours? You still got from 2 to 10, from 2 to midnight, from 2 to until you put your head on the pillow. What are you doing there? That's filling up your time. And if you're not sure of who you are outside of that arena, that performance, you're going to wind up saying yes to things that are going to take you further away from, anything of sustainability, in my opinion.
I think, I see this a lot with like junior age players too, like especially even more so today when they're struggling, like they can't enjoy life outside of hockey. And I was that way too, because hockey was everything. It was everything, and you haven't been taught yet. And you probably are coming from like midgets or prep school where you were the man, you were the top player on the team. And then you go to juniors and it's like, oh, well, there's guys 3 and 4 years older than me and in better shape and stronger and more mature. And they know how to handle adversity because they've already been through what I'm going through now. And I see a lot of kids that like, they I don't like the word depressed because I don't think it's like real depression. I think it's like they're like you said, they're connecting their whole life and their identity and their worth to the game. And that actually winds up making you play worse, so what you're doing now in this book and things like that, I think it's just like massively important. And it's something, we obviously do with this podcast and I do with Give More Advising with all of our advising clients is the mentorship piece of like, hey, it's one day, whether it's the best game you've ever had or it's the worst game you've ever had. It's over tomorrow. It's over. Once you're off the ice, it's over. Like go do something you love and helping them kind of learn those things.
Yeah.
So Newts, let me ask you this just to piggy off what Vex is saying here. So we are believers that there's something very powerful about going all in on something. Like, hey, this is my dream and I'm going to sacrifice. I'm going to work my hardest at like going all in on something. I do think that there's a lot of power in that. I did that. Vex, you did that. Newts, you did that. We all had different journeys within, that mindset and mind frame. But like, you never want to, Vex, like what did Hastings say? You never want to look back on the bar stool at 30 years old and say, I wish I would have X, Y, or Z. How do you kind of put the circle together on, we got to make sure that people have an identity outside of being a hockey player with the power of having zero regrets, knowing you did everything that you could to eventually accomplish that dream. How do you kind of rectify those two different things? Because two things can be true at the same time. It's very, very powerful to go all in on something, but also there can be a lot of anxiety and stress and collateral damage to going all in on something too. So how do you kind of square those?
I'd say you square it with the understanding that you can have ultra success and not be 247, 365. There's no athlete on this planet, regardless of level they play at or ability, that is 100% turned on with whatever sport it is all the time. Because again, it'll become too rigid. You'll become too extreme. It'll burn you out. Anxiousness, unnecessary symptoms would start to arise in your life if you didn't have that off switch. So I think it's the understanding that I can still make it to the NHL and have a career there, but I can also take some time off and go and, pique some interest in other areas of life. I think that's important for guys is to either be extremely good and comfortable being by yourself. I think in order to have sustainable greatness in life, you got to be okay with being alone. There's going to be a lot of time, a lot of grinding, we'll call it, that needs to take place with you only, where nobody's clapping, but we're still pushing, right? The 1-day contract, doing whatever we got to do to win this day. But then outside of that, I think it's important to have people that have no association whatsoever with the game of hockey, so that you can go into environments where not only are you not thinking about hockey, but you're not speaking about it. Because typically most high-level athletes or players that think, I want to get to that level, they think, again, they're either thinking it all the time, or they're speaking about it, or they're watching it. Highlights, speaking to friends about it, advisors, agents, parents, teammates. It's just constant. And I just hope that for any, younger players out there listening to this, that they understand that you can have all the success within this game, but you don't have to be so rigid. Because again, at some point, I think it'll have a negative impact on their performance.
Yeah. And maybe what we need to do a better job of, Vex, between the two of us, is like actually defining what all in is. Because some people can hear all in and think that like you don't care about anything else except for hockey. You get up, you do a million push-ups, and like you sacrifice.
If you're not eating out of a hockey net shaped bowl, you're wrong. But so how do you guys feel about the word like compartmentalization? Like because like what Toph is saying right now, it's the same thing with how Toph and I feel about like winning for kids. We want to teach kids that you want to win and you do everything you can to win. But we as the adults know that we don't care if they actually win. And when we're trying to like, voice that and how that looks and stuff, it's hard because those are kind of a juxtaposition. So like, how do you feel about like from a mindset of like, when I'm at the rink, I'm 100%, I'm all in, I'm compartmentalized, I'm a hockey player. And then when I walk out the door, I can leave hockey there and go enjoy other things. Do you like that word? Do you think that word is too harsh? You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Because like when I would get down on myself in juniors and I was going through hard times, or in pro, I'm thinking about hockey all the time. But like as I got older and I got, more mature and wiser on what works psychologically, I was able to, quote unquote, escape the game, get away from the game, which allowed me then to want to be at the rink more the next day, even when maybe I wasn't playing my best or something like that.
Yeah, I think in time, age, experience, right, kind of matures you to a level where you understand that every storm and every battle you go through, isn't as bad as you think it is. Yeah. And it's not going to last as long.
God,
It's not going to last entirety, but when we're in the storm, we'll create all these stories that this is how it's going to be tomorrow and next week and next month. And it just leads to an incredible mental trap, It
does.
And so I think, sometimes with my clients and in the business that I do, I talk to them about, I kind of mentioned it earlier, like a 1-day contract. Like, what do I got to do to show up today to win this day? But can you compartmentalize that? Just hockey. And then life outside is going to go in different places. Obviously, we want to be healthy with our decisions outside of the game. But I think for the majority of the players, it's the hockey, it's the sport, it's the athlete that we have to give permission, again, to just shut off. And it's so insanely important because, again, we're going to start experiencing, like, I know for me, my year in the Czech Republic, when I hadn't started really working on myself too deeply, I didn't have the ability then to leave hockey at the hockey rink, which only made it even more troubling for my then ex-wife, or my then wife. She, she had to call me out on it. She's like, we're here for you and your attitude, your behavior, everything. It just sucks right now. We need you to be better. So I was not having a great hockey season, and I brought that home and made it. I wasn't abusive. I wasn't shouting or anything. I was just negative. I wasn't able to separate the two,
It's probably not present.
So somebody not fun to be around because like you feel like the world is not ending, but like it's especially in Europe, because like it's a lot easier to get released or bought out or anything in Europe, especially when you're in a top league. If you're not performing as an import, there's a lot of pressure pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I think to kind of jump onto what we were saying earlier about the story creating that takes place, so much of me not being able to shut off hockey was because I was caught in thinking about the future based on the season I was having in the current. Right. I was an offensive defenseman.
How many people can resonate with what you just said, including all the kids that are listening to this right now oh dude, that's so Yep.
I was so lost because I only had 10 points in 45 games. I was lost in thinking, I'm a point producer. I'm not going to make more money next year. I'm not going to be able to support my family as I am this season. I wasn't suffering from the moments. I wasn't suffering from the external. I was suffering from this neurosis up here. That's why I do what I do now, because this is the battle. And so many players just don't understand it. That was the battle for me. I wasn't winning the mental battle, but I wasn't even aware that I was in it. So I was just losing.
I think what you said about the 1-day contract too. I mean, that's something that helped me so much. And I think it works with a lot of the young players I talk to. It's like, hey, you got to be where your feet are. But like, if you look to the left, that's the past. Can you change that? Whether it was the game just ended or it was your last shift, it was a weekend ago, it was a month ago. Can you change anything? No. Can you do anything right now worrying about the future? Am I going to make the team? Am I going to make more money? Am I going to get signed? No, you can't affect any of that right now. But you can do something today, right now. Whatever is in front of you, you have to do something right now positive. And that's going to take care of itself. And you got to know that and believe that, And I think that helping players understand, well, okay, you're a 20-year-old pro. Well, were you a pro when you were 18? No. 16? No. 14? No. 10? No. But you just got better every day and you eventually became a pro. Well, this tough time right now, it's the same thing. You just have to win today, right now, and then go to sleep and do that tomorrow, and just one day at a time. And it's something I learned in my hockey career. It's also something that's working for me in the business, in the real world too. Like I get kicked in the pants all the time in my businesses and failures and ups and downs and overs and learning things over the last 18 years of my training company. But I've kind of been able to employ that hockey mindset, what you said, the 1-day contract, just show up and do everything I can to be my best today I possibly can be. And then you're 5 years in, 10 years in, whatever it is, you can look back and go, all of those 1 days added up to where I'm at now, and so I love what you said there. That's what really helped me in hockey. And then, life after hockey, I've been able to look back and been like, well, how was I successful in the tough times in hockey? And those were kind of the mindset things that I used for myself too.
Yeah. I think it's really valuable stuff. And Newt, I'd like to get your opinion on this, because as someone like probably you guys was terrible at compartmentalizing things. I was, and still do, I'm not, for whatever reason, I can't. And so how would you, especially with what you do as a performance coach now, how do you help teach kids to compartmentalize things and be in the present moment?
Well, in order to compartmentalize, you have to actively do it. So for me, it's so much of what I do on a specific tool that I provide is the ability to reset, the ability to look at a performance or look at a day, analyze it for what it is when I'm no longer in any of those experiences. Therefore, I'm not attached to the emotion that came along with those things. So now I can see the experience for what it is, opposed to the emotion and what it was telling me earlier. With that, I can now see any potential lessons that were there for me to learn, or some positives that I can take from the negatives, so that I'm not taking negative energy or a poor performance into the next performance or into the next day. So I think in order to do it mentally, for me and my clients, we do it on paper first, specific times throughout the day, so that we're retraining the subconscious mind and training it to do what we're talking about automatically, so that we can automatically mentally compartmentalize things. So I always have them doing it on a sheet of paper first, getting into the active practice of compartmentalizing. Why do I have such a
hard word, man? I think I messed up with it too.
I was like, man, I just keep
but
at this word.
It also goes to something that, Vex, you and I talk about a lot, and that's the power of reflection. What you're talking about is self-evaluation and self-reflection. Yeah. And not enough people do that nowadays. I'm raising my hand, like I don't do enough of it either. Self-reflection, especially when it comes to writing it down and journaling. I'm sure with all the research that you do, like everything that I read and listen to, journaling is one of the best mental health things that you can do in your entire life. And I never threaded that together as far as compartmentalization and reflection, but that makes so much sense. and I got to start doing that a lot more consistently. Well, let me put something to you guys, because as both of you guys were talking, I was writing a few things down, based on the question that I kind of asked a little bit earlier, as far as like, what does all in look like? Like what is that? And I have 4 things that I'd love to bat around with you guys and see what resonates with you. And so all in, I think of as like 100%, right? 100%. So 100% present in the moment that you're in. 100% discipline to the plan that you've set. So focusing on the, not the results, but focusing on the process, giving 100% of what you have in the time that you're being asked to give it. So, and Vex, you and I talk a lot about, we're not always going to have our 100%, but let's give 100 of whatever we have. And then outworking 100% of the people that you're competing against. So like being the hardest worker. So 100% present when you're asked to be present with, so for us, like at the rink or at the gym, whatever, 100% of dedication and discipline to the process to the plan, giving 100% of what you have, even on the days that you don't have it, and then competition, outworking 100% of the people. So I feel like that, for me, that's just what I wrote down. This is definitely a rough draft, but it's a question that, as we're talking about, I think it's a really important one. Like, what does that mean? So what resonates with you guys in those 4, and what else would you add to this or change? Like, interested to hear what you guys have to say.
I like the 100% present. And I know that seems like it's probably like, oh yeah, duh. But especially young people with their phones now, and like kids who come into the gym, at the academy, that got one earphone in, and I slap that thing out of their ear metaphorically as fast as I possibly can and say, no, you're present. You're here. You're with your friends. You're with your classmates. You're with coach. You're here to get better. Like, be here, not whatever you're listening to, YouTube, I don't care. Like, get it out of your ear. And as some young people too, if you're going to say like, hey, I'm all in, I have this goal, then I'm going to hold you accountable. Okay, when you're with me, let's give 100. Let's not be texting your girlfriend in between. We've all seen that kid in the locker room who in between periods is texting somebody, like, no, dude, you got the rest of the day to do that. And so for me, like that 100% present, you can't be getting 100% better if you aren't 100% there. You can't give your all, attention to detail, things like that, following the development plan, whatever it is, if you are not present. So for me, like, I really like that one. And I think it's harder than most people think to actually be 100% present. They're thinking about the next thing or the test or the presentation at work or whatever it is. But like Chris Pronger said on our podcast, when he was able to start using that, what is it? The
alter
other
ego.
Personality, the alter ego,
yeah.
That really allowed him to be present as that alter ego, and then leave hockey and hockey. So that would be mine.
Cool. What about you, dudes? What do you think?
Yeah, I really like that. And that's one thing that I talk with all my clients about, is that the game of hockey requires your presence. You want to have sustainable success within the game. You need to be present. You need to be here and now. And so I certainly agree. That's why I think breath work, that's why I use that. That to me is such a massive vehicle to the present moment, because all of the things that Vex was just listing off outside of being on your phone, all other things that are taking you from being here and now, it's all thought. It's all thought based. It's the thought of what dinner's going to be tonight, the test you have to study about, the test that's tomorrow, the argument with the girlfriend, the argument with the wife, the kid's not doing well in school. It's all going on up here. So I think being in touch with your breath, getting yourself focused in on your breathing, is going to help you to get out of that and come back to the moment, and then one thing I would add to it, just, as it currently stands, is 100% clarity. I think we need to be clear, not only on if we're all in or if we're not, which takes a level of honesty, but I think we need to be 100% clear on where it is that we want to go. Where am I trying to go with this thing? And I think there's so many players that have wishy-washy goals, and I know that those wishy-washy goals are going to lead to wishy-washy thinking, speaking, habits, purpose. The more clear an individual is on where they want to go, that is what you need. That's your purpose. That's your moral compass.
Yeah.
And I think without that, that's when, again, outside of the performance of the workout or the practice or the game, when I'm not clear on where it is I want to go with this game, my decisions outside of the game are either taking me closer to that thing or further away. And that's why in so many different areas, having 100% clarity, I think, is vital for success and sustainability as well.
I say that's like I say to kids when they don't know like their goal, or they're afraid to say it to me or anybody. I'm like, would you get in your car and you're supposed to go to a new restaurant? You don't know the address and you just start driving? No. What do you do when you get in your car? Immediately you put into your GPS, I'm going to this restaurant. And then what happens? It tells you turn by turn how to get there. This is the same thing as, okay, my goal is to get a Division I scholarship. Well, the turn by turn now is going to be, well, you should be at this stage, at this level, you should be doing these types of workouts. You need to be doing this type of nutrition and breath work and mindset. You can't decide the steps to get to the goal if you don't determine what the goal is. Yeah. Like what you just said is so massively important, because I'm not going to treat a Division I player is trying to get an NHL contract the same way I'm going to treat, a kid who plays house league in the gym, right? Their directions of how they're trying to get where they want to go are going to be completely different because they have different destinations.
Yeah.
It's a lot of metaphors. I think I lost myself, but you know what I'm saying.
Getting all smart on us, Vex. What's going on? Hey, so one thing that I would love to ask you as we're talking about all this, 100% all into something, but also not having it be your entire identity. So Newts, I have such a conflicting and love-hate relationship with these online academies that are popping up at an enormous rate. I think there are some things that are great about them. I also think there are some things that are really not great about them. And I think what we're talking about right now really brings to the forefront a lot of that pro-con-ness of online academies. And we are all a product of our experiences. And for me, I think about two different things. I love hockey so much, and I always have, outside of like a couple things that maybe not love it, which we all kind of go through. And I would have, going back, in fact, you've asked me this before, but like if you ask your 15-year-old self if you would have loved to go to school at a hockey rink and done hockey all day, you would have done it. And I'm like, absolutely, I would have done it, But I also know that playing junior hockey at 16, 17, 18 years old. And I was very fortunate because I played for the Chicago Steel and got to live in Chicago where I grew up and go to my high school and graduate from my high school with my friends too. And as I have reflected on this, I needed them badly because I was all in, probably to not a good extent, where there wasn't that compartmentalization and balance that I had. And I needed that outside influence of not being at the rink and hanging out with people where I knew I wasn't going to talk about hockey. Like that was probably a necessary part of my development and my love for the game, And so I'd like to get your take because, these online academies are popping up a lot. And so I would love your big picture view on it. Like I would not go back. If I had to do it again, I would have not have done it differently. I think I needed that outlet outside of hockey to be mentally healthy, to be honest with you, as someone who poured his heart and soul into it and rode the emotions of the highs and the lows probably more than I should have or needed to. What are your thoughts on these online academies as it relates to what we're talking about now of being all in? And then like, if you do have a son or a daughter that is at one of these online academies, how would you advise some of these parents to help support those kids? Or if you are a kid that goes to one of these online academies, how would you advise them on how to, obviously develop their hockey skills, which is what those are for, but also to make sure that, you're mentally healthy and it's not so crazy?
Yeah, well, I would say that I'm assuming that when you say online hockey academy, it's like that's where the kids are still going to the place, but all the schoolwork is done on their laptops.
So they're doing school, yeah. So, and some of them are, online academies that it's just the academy, and then at night they go to their own team's practices. Okay. And then there's others who it's an online academy where the entire team goes to school at the rink and then they practice, after. So they're basically doing their school at the rink and they're 9 to 5. There.
Yeah, yeah, and then I know they've got a lot more ice times available to them throughout the day.
Yep.
It's so hard to put anything out there that would be like a one size fits all for everybody, because every kid's different, as we know, right? Every path is going to be different. There is no one path to whatever people view as success within the game. So I think it's an individual by individual circumstance, where if that's truly all your kid wants is hockey, and that is an environment that is conducive for them to give everything that they've got, to be all in, well then sure, let's do it. Why not? But I think, again, some situations are not going to be good. I think for so many, it would take a level of honesty with either oneself or from a parent down to a child perspective, honesty on, where is this kid really going to be able to go? Are they that all in? And if they're not, is any potential struggle really going to be worth it? But I think everybody struggles differently too. Some players are okay with a screaming coach, some aren't. And I'm just bringing that up to more say that, it's all different. But I think from a parental standpoint and from an individual standpoint, it's about understanding what it truly takes, what it's truly going to require to have success in the game or have success in an online academy situation, because it's different. Is the kid away from home or are they not? And I know I'm going all over the place, but I don't think there's any one size fits all answer for this. But I think as long as the kid still has interests that are separate from hockey, I think that's got to be the main thing in that type of situation.
I agree. Get them into like piano lessons or guitar lessons or like something that's going to work their brain in a different way, that's going to challenge them. And if they suck at it at first, good. Make them keep going. Yeah. Like obviously find an instrument or whatever, extracurricular activity that they like and they enjoy, but like definitely stay on them to keep practicing to get better. Because like, I also think that once you start to learn how to get better at something, it helps you learn how to get better at anything. And I think you got to kind of stink at something and find different ways over, around, and through how to learn to get better at something you're not good at. And that will help you in your life at getting better at other things as well.
Yeah, I really like that too. And I think especially for the online model, online, obviously it's all done with these screens. So it's helping the kids to connect to the teacher or to the program or to the schoolwork, but it's also, in my opinion, creating a lot of disconnect between that person and themselves, because the blue light, right, the constant stimulation. I think kids nowadays, another reason why they're unable to be present and here and now with the game is because they're overstimulated. So for any kid out there that's in that online model, or for any parents that are about to set their kids onto that path, would be to have set time, maybe not set times, but just times of the day to get away from the noise, to get away from the stimulation. Not only are we getting it from the blue lights, the phones, but all the lights, the LED lights everywhere, so finding some time to disconnect from the world, so to speak, to reconnect with yourself, I think will go a long way as well.
God, man, that's so important. Toph and I talk about it all the time because both of our businesses are on our computer and our phone a lot. And there's no doubt in my mind the days where I'm on my freaking phone way more, that like I just feel my brain feels worse. It's not that I feel depressed, but I definitely don't feel as happy. I feel more down. Like it's the more you can get away from screens, we can't get away from them all the time, but the more that you don't have to be on them, the better off you're going to feel. There's no doubt in my mind.
One of the things that I've noticed, so I like to get up early before the kids get up just to have a little me time, so I'll get up at 5:30, and I've kind of vacillated between, when I get up, do I exercise and work out, or do I get some work done? Like get some of the nitty gritty detail work type stuff done. And it's funny because I literally came to this conclusion yesterday. I'm sitting in my bed and it's like 5:15, 5:30, whatever it was. And I was like, all right, which do I do today? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to work out. And I went to the gym. I did what is it called? Some kind of yoga class. It's kind of like a strength yoga class. And I remember power something.
roasted.
Yeah. And oh God, I'm sore today.
Your groin, I know your groins are toast.
Oh God, toast. Adductors and groins are in a tough spot right now. But like it was like 10 o'clock and I was like an hour or two after dropping my kids off for school of doing some work at the computer. But I was like, geez, I have so much more energy right now. Like I am so much more just mentally alert. And I'm like, okay, I know the answer to this question. And I should have gotten to this a long time ago, because when you get work done in the morning, sometimes that gives you a little boost because you're like, oh, I got something done today, you know, and you can spend some time on some bigger projects or whatever. But like, I remember like I had just my energy level. It was just, yeah, and it's probably just the screens. Well, it's exercise because obviously exercise does that to you too, but like no screens to start the day.
Well, I have to jump in here because I think it's important, especially with kind of what we're talking about in totality within this episode here today, is why on the days when you start your day with working out opposed to screen time, whether that's sending back emails on a laptop, is because the first 20 to 30 minutes after you wake up is when your subconscious mind is the most aware. So your brain waves are very slow. So you're in absorption mode, no different than we were when we were kids from being born until the age of about 7 or 8. We were absorbing everything. So you fed your subconscious mind technology on those days. It's going to create, and every day for that matter, it's going to create more of that throughout the rest of the day. So what you feed the subconscious mind within the first 20 to 30 minutes after waking up is going to be the rest of your day. So that's why I think we should have to throw that in there so that people can be introspective. Remember the last day you woke up and the first thing you did was grab your phone. Those days, it's almost impossible to get away from this thing. It's always around. I feel like I'm missing something on there, right? And then I go and check and I'm not missing anything. Oh, people don't like me. I don't have a new like. I don't have a new follower. I feel terrible, but I can't get away from the dang thing. So just commit to the first 45 minutes after waking up. All technology, stay away from it. You'll feel so much more peace, so much more calm. You're not going to be instantly in fight or flight mode. We need ease to start our days. Some days,
love
not
that.
all that.
I'm gonna replace my poop and phone time every morning now with poop and a candle and some Enya, and because at least the first 20 minutes of my morning, first 20 minutes of my morning is on the toilet. So every morning, like clockwork, baby. So that's what I'm gonna put out into the universe.
Different kind of emptying. You're not emptying the brain.
No better way to start the day.
I can't believe this, but I just looked up at the time and we're almost at an hour. Like I thought we're 20 minutes in. But hour in, the one thing I got to ask you to end this, because obviously you got a book coming out here. I can't wait to read it, but like, what is the thing that you hope, if there was one, there's probably a lot, but if there was one thing that you hope a reader took out of this book that detailed your journey, what would the lesson be? What would the thing be that you hope people would kind of take into their own lives and help them to make them better?
Oh, that last part, to make them better. I had what I was going to say, and then you threw that in there.
No, it doesn't have to be that. No. Do the thing that you had in your head, because that's way more powerful.
For just your average reader, that to me is the average fan. We'll say just to again remember that athletes are more human than they are athlete. They're no different than we are. They're going to make mistakes. They're human. They have past experiences that have led them into doing the exact thing that you're at odds against. Doesn't make them any less, any worse. They're just human. And then in terms of making people better, I think whether that's therapy or being introspective, analyzing yourself, I think for a lot of people, it's time that we understand the role we play in our own suffering. And once we start seeing that and understanding that, well, then we can start taking radical ownership in our lives. And I think the more honest you are with yourself, the better and healthier your life will become.
Amen, man. Well, Newts, where can our listeners find you? Social media, website, where can they find the book? I know you said at the beginning, but just give us a little bit of a sense of where we can find you.
Yeah. So Instagram is at Newton's Mind 55. Newton's Mind 55. LinkedIn's Jacob Newton. Facebook is Jacob Newton. Those are the only 3 that I have. My website is www.newtonsmind.com. The book, as I shared at the beginning, is available on Amazon. Hardcover, paperback, Kindle versions. We will be doing an audiobook here in the next couple months. And just super excited. Thank you guys so much for having me on. Always great seeing you guys. Love the energy as always. And you guys are what this world needs more of. So I just appreciate you guys and everything that you bring into this world, and especially within the hockey community. So again, thank you so much for letting me be here.
It's the Tears of Happy Jake, an inspiring journey of discovery in hockey, out on Amazon, like he said, in multiple different forms. So Jacob Newton, Newton's Mind. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Stay well, stay blessed, and winter's over, baby. Let's go.
Woo! DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, is built for the fastest game on ice. With player drops and live betting, every shift, every shot, every save gives you options to get in on the game with DraftKings Sportsbook. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 plus in most states, void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer, copyright 2026, NHL, all rights reserved.